this event that we've just been having a little chat about online in 2 weeks' time, isn't it? On Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday the 9th.
Yeah, Wednesday the 9th. And just having a brief chat about why we're putting that on for people and so people can get a sense of what to expect when we speak and we come together on that Wednesday. So, do you want to speak to that a little bit? Why we're running the event?
Yeah, so one of our main reasons for running this event is because of the lack of support that's available for parents. And often we found, both of us working in our different practices with parents in different capacities, is that there's like a lot of guilt and shame around, not being the parent we wanted to be, about feeling like we're constantly failing when we lose it with our kids. That's a
Mm-hmm.
really big one.
Mm-hmm.
And actually feeling very stuck in our dynamics and relationships
Mm.
with our kids and the parenting style that we think we should have.
Yeah, I think that's a big one, isn't it? Being stuck. I get that
Mm.
from people I work with. Like I'm just stuck, and I've read all the things, I've followed all the Instagram accounts, I've looked at peaceful, gentle parenting, and I'm still stuck. And I think sometimes what's out there just compounds it and makes it even worse. You become even more stuck when your head's like full of knowledge that you cannot implement because your nervous system's somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's a really important piece that we want to bring in, isn't it? Is actually looking at parenting from the nervous system perspective.
Mm.
Like what's happening for your body in this moment when your child is having a meltdown?
Mm-hmm.
What's happening when you are trying to get out of the house in the morning
Mm.
and it's total chaos and you're about to be late for school and no one's got their clothes on or their shoes on? Like, how do you manage all that without feeling completely frazzled and
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess the way that the nervous system is like portrayed, especially on things like Instagram, is like it's another thing to do.
Mm.
You see all of these reels with somatic tools and tapping and all of this stuff. So then not only does a parent have all of the conscious parenting, peaceful parenting stuff, but now they've got the nervous system stuff and they're still trying to override their nervous system by learning more or trying all of these tools. And I even just talking about it now, I can feel my own head feeling scattered by it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really overwhelming because it's just more and more to do when you're already totally overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to look at the context of parenting as well today, is that we're often doing it without support. Like just in nuclear families, we're all trying to meet the needs, as one or two parents of ourselves and our kids. And it's like an impossible situation. And I think what we both find is that most parents just feel really on the edge of burnout all the time. And like they're not enjoying parenting. It's not what they thought it would be. But they're also completely stuck in this reality.
Yeah.
And I think there's loads of shame in talking about it.
Yeah.
There's loads of shame in naming it because we're so taught that we should be really grateful for having kids.
Mm-hmm.
We should be really enjoying every moment. And um, it just keeps us really, yeah, I think stuck is the word, isn't it? That works best.
Yeah. And I guess it makes me think of that, is it mummy wine culture, where people, might joke about like, oh, I need some wine at the end of the day to like cope with my kids. And it seems like that's okay to share struggles in that way, where it's a bit of a joke, maybe someone in the schoolyard or whatever. But when it comes to actually saying, oh, I'm going to go to a parenting event or I'm going to come along to, our support event that we're doing, there might be a desire or a pull to come, but then oh no, like that I don't want to admit that I'm not the perfect parent, or I don't want people to think bad of me. It's not trendy, is it, to say, hey, like on Friday I'm going to this parenting event or whatever. It's not really what people do.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's one of the reasons why there's so little support available for parents.
Mm.
Like what, especially once you get out of the sort of toddler stage, when you're a baby, there's lots of courses and groups to go
Yeah.
to on sleep, on like starting solids, but there's like nothing once you get into the kind of sort of even preschool, but also like later on when your kids are, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus,
Mm.
and there's just such a dearth of things
Mm.
available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess our vision or desire to create a space is to have a bit of an open space where we can talk and engage with people about where they're at, what they do struggle with.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's really important that we people feel like they can have some self-compassion. And I think being in a group really helps that,
Mm.
especially like in the difficult moments to know that I'm not the only one having this experience. But also think to start to realize, because the nervous system piece is so important that like actually when we can look at what's happening because of where our nervous systems are at, we can really start to have more compassion for ourselves as well. Because
Yeah.
you realize, oh, this isn't actually a choice that I'm making. This
Yeah.
is an
That's
experience that is happening, you know, at a very subconscious or unconscious even level within
mm.
my body because of what it is experiencing right now,
Yeah.
essentially like as overwhelm.
Yeah.
And we all have a set of responses that our bodies will go to when they're in overwhelm. But, you
Yeah.
know, I think so much of the language around parenting is about the choices that we have. And we can, it's all about mindset and psychology, isn't it? And you can
Yeah.
choose to do something else. And it's not looking at the fact that like actually, even as adults, we are going to feel really activated by our children. And that is really normal. And as a result of that, we are going to have some very strong responses at times.
Yeah. I mean, I'm having a strong response now. I can feel my legs going cold, like running up. Like just I think hearing about how there's so much out there saying we have a choice about how we show up. And
Mm.
there was a popular sort of parenting slash psychology page that I follow or followed or still follow. And I remember seeing it not so long ago. And this person was talking about like, you know, basically going hard about like you have a choice if
Yeah.
I was like, I can't believe this is coming out of her mouth because like the rest of her account, like she speaks to me and I was thinking this is too much. And I don't know whether sometimes the too muchness is marketing tactics or something, but to tell a parent they have a choice whether they melt down back at their child or not is so damaging because there's no choice when that fight flight kicks in. You haven't got that available to you.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I think there's like a big part, isn't there, as well, around how, like a lot of us will have been parented in ways
Mm.
where we weren't met when we had a tantrum.
Yeah,
We were punished for it. We were sent to our rooms. We were told to stop doing that. Like we had a choice over it as children.
yeah.
And so it's really hard to be in those moments with your children
Mhm.
when you haven't ever been met in those yourself as a child and been held in those to experience the emotions that you were. So of
Mm.
course you're going to feel really activated by your kids when that happens. And and I experience it too. Like my daughter is 9.5, and actually this is the period that I'm finding extremely tough parenting her because I can really see all the ways that I wasn't allowed to express this emotion. I wasn't allowed to behave in this way, and she does. And
Mm.
it's like I really have to hold on to the seat of my pants a lot of the time at the moment.
Yeah, I feel like I'm edging towards there with my just turned 9-year old. Can see them changes. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, I find it a lot trickier with her sometimes than I do with my 6-year-old, who has a lot more challenging behaviors because of his neurodivergences.
Mm.
Because I don't have the same level of personal,
Yeah, I get
like
that.
I don't know the word is, but like I don't
Yeah,
feel as personally challenged by
yeah,
that as I do with her.
yeah. And I can't remember the bit you were just saying there about what you got missed and if you weren't held and things like that. And And it just took my brain straight to like somatic experiencing, and how when someone is doing somatic experiencing over a period of time, that they're the gaps that we're filling in.
Mm.
And then when them gaps are filled in and we've been met, then we have a greater capacity to meet our child. And I think, you know, when we have our event on the Wednesday, we'll be sharing more about somatic experiencing, what it is, and how it's impacted our lives.
Mm.
You know, I don't know about you, but I certainly didn't seek out somatic experiencing for parenting. I sought it out for something else, but then it's helped my parenting. Does that make
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my experience with it has been that, well, I started somatic experiencing because I had chronic fatigue.
Mm.
And what I started to discover was how overwhelmed I felt by parenting, and that a lot of the situations I was in where my fatigue would come on very suddenly and intensely was when I was with my kids, and how my nervous system responded to my children.
Yeah.
So that's really what sort of started to lead me down this
Yeah.
path in a relation to parenting. Because
Yeah.
actually, often it's not, and it wasn't my kids' fault that that was happening. Like what was happening for me was that probably all that activation, all that nervous system stress had been there my whole life, and having kids and having two kids actually for me
Yeah.
was the sort of the straw that broke the camel's back, and it all became apparent
Yeah.
as physical symptoms essentially.
Wow.
So I
Yeah.
don't, and I suppose this is something that we see quite commonly
Mm.
in our practices, people coming in with quite strong physical symptoms because of their sort of day-to-day, which relate back to their day-to-day experiences of their nervous systems.
Yeah.
And I think with parents a lot, one of the things that's quite common is that really high high sympathetic activation of feeling like you're always switched on all the time. You can't switch off. Like very like running on adrenaline.
Yeah.
And then sort of that then will lead to like a big collapse.
Mm-hmm.
I have total fatigue and exhaustion. Like I just
Yeah.
need to numb out. I can't do anything.
Yeah.
And there's just this constant swinging between the two.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it just then becomes a vicious cycle, and then it becomes the norm.
Mm.
This is my reality, and I can't imagine my reality being any different. You know, I'm a single parent, and I always used to think, oh well, maybe if I had a partner, like everything would be better, and I would be able to, you know, things would be easier. But I know from my own somatic experiencing journey that I do experience more ease and flow, yet there's nobody that's came in. So it's
Mm.
empowering people that when you can work with this in your nervous system, filling in the bricks that have been missed. You know, I always have the image of a wall and this sort of things missed in our development. And when we can put them back in, you know, then we can have a bigger capacity to handle the challenges that kids bring. It's not that they become amazing. There's never ever any challenge, but it's we, you know, don't become stuck in their
Mm.
survival states. We can ebb and flow in and out of them instead of being stuck, like you said there, in the high sympathetic arousal and then the collapse.
Yeah, and that's a really good point about the ebb and flow between different states, because I think there's such a um like a misunderstanding of regulation
Mm-hmm.
that, going back to all the Instagram social media posts,
Mm-hmm.
they all seem to suggest that, when you're regulated, that means you're calm. A regulated parent is a calm parent. And I really want to say to people, this isn't another workshop for being a calm parent. And actually, as somatic experiencing practitioners, we don't think that people need to be calm all the time. And like, it's really important that we are able to experience our like intensity of emotion. That's part of being human.
Yeah.
But actually, what it's about is like, how do we learn to tolerate our feelings more
Yeah.
as parents, and to be able to stay grounded in those, and to be able to move between those different states,
Yeah.
and not feel like, again, not feel stuck, and also to not feel like we have to just put a lid on ourselves, because I think that's what a lot of calm parenting approaches teach. It's almost like, how do you just mask what you're feeling, which like our kids can feel that. They can feel the um intensity that's there
Mhm.
underneath, like even if you're just kind of trying to do that calm face smile. And you were talking when we were talking the other day, Fiona, I know you mentioned this about parenting styles and nervous system
Mm.
reality. I don't
Yeah.
know if you can say a bit more about that.
Yeah, just, my mind's just going like this as you're speaking and thinking about how perhaps say someone who experiences more fight flight and their the way of being is more authoritarian in their parenting, and there definitely feels like there's a link. So then when someone says, oh, you can choose to be a conscious parent, it's like, well, you can't if you're stuck in that state. But what people might do is they might try to choose, but what's required is to suppress, and push down that energy to sort of, you know, pretend or trick themselves or whatever that I'm a conscious parent. But then the amount of energy that's taking to try and be something that's not where you're at, then they either go back to exploding when they've spent however many hours trying to peaceful parent, or they go the other way and they, go to shut down and, oh yeah, that's okay, little Jimmy just did
Mm.
that, but it doesn't matter. And oh yeah, I'm easy going. And there's no congruency with what's being felt in the nervous system. But we can be conscious parents, peaceful parents. I know I've used that word in my business in the past, but these words give me the ick a little bit now. When you can just be a parent that's feeling more like the parent you want to be, where there's more ease, there's more flow, and all of this, that's when we're in our ventral vagal. That's when we've got been able to regulate our nervous system, and that links with the principles of conscious parenting. But then we do go to the other states and we can come out of them. That's the difference.
Mm.
And we're regulated, because we can be angry and be regulated. I'm definitely angry and regulated with that.
Mm.
I mean, the things that come out in the car, the girls hear me say sometimes, I'm not like pretending to be calm and gentle and peaceful.
Yeah, and I think a big piece that I know we're going to touch upon together is probably around anger, because that
Mhm.
is such an important part of having a regulated nervous system, is being able to access your anger,
Mm,
not to suppress it.
yeah,
And we need, as parents, if we want to develop regulated nervous systems, we actually need to be able to access all our different emotional states. We
yeah,
need to feel, we need to feel, our that sympathetic arousal. Sometimes, sometimes we need to feel that, like the overwhelm that then leads us into freeze. That's okay. It's actually having the ability to stay connected to ourselves in it, and to come back to connection with ourselves. That
yeah,
then defines what is regulated and what isn't regulated.
yeah. And it makes me think of the judgment that's out there of whether a parent or child, like, if a parent's like, oh, I'm so angry and I'm losing it, or my child is, they tend to be the ones that then might take action that something needs to change. And then the parent or the child who's the opposite of that seems to be like, oh, she's so calm. Oh, I wish I could be like her. She just always seems calm, or my child just always gets their head down. But they might not even be calm. They might be in freeze. But it's
Mm.
just something about the ones that are more expressive. They get noticed and they get pinpointed as like, you're a problem parent for losing it.
Mm.
But I know I was on the other end. So I was very dissociated, not present, always trying to be. I need to be present. I need to be present.
Mm.
And I wouldn't get angry, but all of that was like down here. Like I was exhausted, So I
Yeah.
think it's worth speaking to both types of parent, and that, because it does tend to be the ones that explode that you'll see all the Instagram information out there directed
Mm.
at them. not the other side where
Yeah,
maybe,
it's a really good point.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
yeah.
wondering, is that like everything now? Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I think that's enough.
Mm.
Yeah, I think we can look forward to seeing people on the Wednesday lunchtime online slot that we're doing, and we will be putting on some evening slots. And this is the first time that we would have ran something together. I know you've ran groups, I haven't. So it's going to be really nice to spend that time and to get to talk to other people and to
Mm.
see where they're at and to bring in some things that might be helpful, especially from the nervous system lens, the somatic experiencing lens. So, yeah,
Yeah, and we're going to be sharing some different tools as well so that
yeah,
people come away with some actual practical tools that they can start to integrate into their daily experiences that will support them.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Great. Well, I look forward to it.
do.
Right. Stop recording.